Hi, it's John here from the Professional Nail School and Beauty Academy. I've been asked a lot to actually pull out of my videos the actual nail prep. Now, the nail prep is the same whether you're doing a gel polish, gel extensions, acrylic extensions, or silk extensions. So basically, all your nail prep's the same. Now, quite often the nail prep is sort of like really kind of like often not quite done completely, and this will cause lifting of your product. The nail prep is probably the most important part of doing nails, because you can do some beautiful nails, but if they're just going to lift or come off quite within a very short space of time, then basically you've wasted all that time doing the nails. So the nail prep is probably the most common cause of nails lifting when you haven't done it complete and correctly. Now obviously there are people will have different views on how to do nail prep. This is just my way, and I've been doing nails for about 25 years and teaching for about 20 years, and I've found this way works for me. So although what I'm going to tell you now may have slight variations between different people, basically this is what I do, and I've found it to be very successful and avoiding lifting of the product. So take what you want from it. I'm going to go through all the products in a moment, and then we'll just do one of my nails because I haven't got a model, and we will just see where we go with this. Okay, so here we go. So here's all the stuff that we need to do our nail prep, and I'll go through them one by one so you've got an idea of what they're all for. And obviously before you do start on your nail prep, you must of course remove any polish that may be on the nails, and that we've covered that in a previous video. And you must also make sure that you have no contraindications on the nails, and all the pink areas are nice and clear and fresh. Okay, so having said all that, what we need to do now is look at the various products. We've got a sanitizing spray. Now, a sanitizing spray is basically an alcohol, and this is a product called isopropyl, and it's what we use to sanitize the nails now, and the hands and equipment and so on. Now this must be at least 65% pure alcohol, so it would be sort of isopropyl, 60% and 40% water. The one I use actually, which is not what's on the bottle here, this is Star Nails. This is a very good one though. This is about 60-70% pure, but I tend to buy it in bulk in 5-litre cartons, and the one I use is 99.9% pure alcohol, so it will kill everything, including the dreaded bug that's going around at the moment, which I don't want to say the name, but you know what it is, right? So we need that, and that's for spraying equipment, hands, etc. The other thing we need is our barbicide. Now barbicide is in fact a disinfectant. This comes in a concentrate in a bottle, and you buy it like this, and then what you do is you put a capful into here of the concentrate and fill it up to the line here. Now you must change this every single day because it's just active for a day, and you use this barbicide here to put your metal items in, which must be in here for at least 15 minutes approximately before you use them. But it's a very strong disinfectant, and again it will kill the bugs. So you've got an alcohol spray, and you've got a disinfectant. We've got pure acetone. Pure acetone I use it for dehydrating the nail plates. Other people use nail prep liquids, but basically nail prep liquid is isopropyl. This is pure acetone, and I've always been using this for the last 25 years, and it works for me. So that's pure acetone. And you also use that for removing polish off nails, of course, and for soaking off gel polish. We've got a nail prep liquid here, which again, as I said, I don't tend to use this, but you can use it instead of the acetone. Sometimes I think it's a good idea to wipe the nails with acetone to dehydrate them and remove any grease or liquids, and also you can use this as well, but basically it's isopropyl, it's just what's in there. Okay, we've got a nail white liquid, and again you can dehydrate the nail plates with this as well. And basically what a nail white liquid is, it's what we've traditionally used for wiping the sticky layer off a top coat of gel polish. We all tend to use no white top coats now, so we tend not to use this so much anymore. But it is good for wiping the nails, removing dust off the nails and so on, right? But basically it's the same as what's in there. It's just, and what's in here basically. It's just isopropyl. We've made them different colours. As I said, we buy it in bulk. We've made them different colours just to identify them and make them look separate. Ooh, not my sneeze screen. Right, so after that we've got our primer. This is items that really confuse people, because they often have all different kinds of names. This one very clearly says on here primer, and this is a non-acid primer. There are two kinds of primers, non-acid primer and acid primer. So what's the main difference? Well, at one time it used to be all acid primers, but it went away and came to non-acid, and then it's sort of like going back to acid primers for acrylics. Now, a non-acid primer is often called lots of different names, well, as are all primers, they're all called different names. This one's very clearly marked primer. This one's called Fast Bond, and this is a non-acid primer, and this is by a manufacturer called Gelux, and basically it is a non-acid primer. Both of these are non-acid primers, but you get other brands like OPI, and I think they call it Super Bond, and they all have all these fancy names, but basically they're all the same. It's just a primer. Now the acid primer, this one's called Ultra Acid Bond, and then you've got NSI products called Super Bond or something like that. I can't remember the exact name for it, but basically it's an acid primer. And often if you read the back of the bottle, it will tell you what's in it. In this case it says methacrylic acid. So it is an acid primer, and an acid primer tends to give a stronger bond when using it with acrylic. I don't recommend you use it with gel polish or gel, any kind of builder gel. You want to be using a non-acid primer. So those are basically your primers. You're going to need, let's go through the tools here. You're going to need cuticle nippers. And of course these are very, very sharp and must be used with great care. And this is just for cutting away the excess cuticle that may be on the skin, the excess skin on the cuticles at the back of the nail. We've got a cuticle pusher here, Now my cuticle pusher is quite tiny on the end, as you can see. Most cuticle pushers tend to be quite large. Compare those two together. These tend to cover the whole of the, more or less the whole of the nail, and I prefer these smaller ones where you can just target certain areas of the cuticle to work on. That's why I use this one. I've seen these on Amazon for about $2.99, but this one is actually a Cutio one from cutio.co.uk. On the other end we've got a flat blade, and that basically is for scraping skin off the nail plates. And as I'm scraping here, I don't know whether you can see that, but there's actually quite a lot of little bits of loose skin coming off the nail plates. The skin on the nail plate can be invisible to the naked eye, and we must remove that during our nail prep. I've got a cuticle knife here. This is generally used in manicure really, but it does come in handy when you're doing your nail prep, and again it's for scraping the nail. It's not a cuticle knife for cutting, which can be confusing sometimes. It's just for scraping on the nail plate to remove any skin off the nail plate. We've got some clippers here, and you tend to use these when you are, when you're filing down the natural nails, say for tips, you might just cut them down a bit before you start filing. So you want the ones with the round shape on the top, not the flat bladed ones. You want the round ones, round shaped on the top. So that basically is all the tools you need, and of course they have to be in your barber set. We've got some pads here, and these are for wiping the nails with your products on, and I prefer the pads to, say, cotton wool. I just feel that they are better and they don't give bits off either, so you need some of those. We've got a plastic dusting brush. Now I use plastic because this is very easy and quick to sanitize between clients. So you can run it under the tap, some soap, give it a good scrub, rinse it out, give it a shake, and then I would spray it with my isopropyl sanitizer, and then that should be ready for your next client. I tend not to use these because hairs obviously can absorb things, and then you could be spreading it down your clients. If you spray it, you may only cover the top. If you wash it, it's going to take 3-4 hours to dry. So basically plastic is a lot more sensible, and you may have 2 of these so that you can have one ready for your client when they come in. We've got a file and a block. Right, this is a 100-180 grit file. 180 is the smooth side, 100 is the rough side. So the higher the number of the grit, the smoother the surface on the file. So I find 100-180 is a good combination to have. Saves you keep picking files up and putting them down, picking them up, putting them down. Now, when you get a file, it is sharp along this edge here. So what you must do is get another file and go over the edge like so. So I've now got another file that I haven't used on a client, and I've got a brand new file. I'm going to go all along the edges like this, so when you run your fingers along, it's no longer sharp. So you have to make sure that when you run your fingers like that, it's not going to cut your clients. So This is called prepping the file, and you must do this before you use your file. We have a white block here, and this is a 100 grit block. I tend to use 100 grit blocks because you don't want to use one that's too smooth on the surface, because when you're prepping over the acrylic or you don't want to be polishing the surface of the nail, the acrylic, so that when you put your gel polish on it just peels off. So 100 grit is a good one to have. It's an all-round one, and it's the right kind of grit on it. They are sharp on the edge, but not like the files, because they are squidgy and soft, so you just be careful when you're using it. If you are using an electric file to do your nail prep, then you must be very careful when you use it, because what you don't want to do is to make your client's nails thin. Now, these can do a lot of damage to the natural nail, but these can do it a lot quicker. So you have to be very careful when you're using them. This is the mandrel, and on top of the mandrel I have put a fine sanding band, which would be 240 grit or above. And of course, just like your files and your block and your sanding band, you must change these, new one for every client. So what we don't want to be doing is using it at a top speed like this. You want to take the speed right down until it is running as slow as you can get it. And now it is now safe to use on the natural nail, to remove all that trace skin off the nail plate. You don't apply any pressure when you're using it, and you must use it with the grain of the nail, which is going downwards like this. So you're not going to go all over the nail like this, and you certainly won't be using it top speed, because then you're just going to thin out the client's nails and do some damage. So you must use it at the correct speed. Now, the correct speed would be at its slowest speed, but if you go onto the nail plate and it actually stops, you just need to increase the speed slightly. So I'm now going to go through the actual nail prep. So here's my nails. I've checked them all for contraindications, and I want to make sure that we can go ahead with the nails. So all the pinks are nice and clear, so we know that there is no diseases or nail conditions that are going to cause us a problem. Now I'm hoping you're going to be able to see this nice and clearly, because it would have been easier if I had a model, but unfortunately I haven't. So basically, first of all, I'm going to file the nails. Now, if we do just filing for natural nails, maybe for a gel polish, then what we need to do is to file in one direction. So the first thing I'm going to do is to just spray the hands to make sure they are germ-free. I'm going to spray my file, and I'm going to spray my block as well. Right, so that will just evaporate away. So basically I'm going to use the smooth side of my file, and I'm going to file from this direction. Nice long strokes, and we want to file in one direction. So in other words, we're filing like this. We're not going like this, which we call sawing. We're filing in one direction. And then we need to come back from that side. Now you could say all the way around is one direction, but when it starts to get to this little point here, it starts to drag on the nail, and you can cause a split to run up the nail like this. So sawing can cause splits in the nail plate. So we're just going to go round and then like this, then round to this side, and just give them a shape that we've got available to us. The next thing we need to do is to take off any bits from underneath the nail, just like this. So there's our nail shaped, ready for our gel polish or whatever. Now when you're filing for tips, you just want to leave a very small amount of free edge showing, and I will just take it a little bit shorter than this here. Underneath there's a seal called the hypericium. We don't want to break into that seal because that seal stops bacteria getting underneath the nail plate onto the nail bed. So leave a little bit of free edge showing when you're filing for tips. So there we are, that is basically filing the nails. That's not difficult. Oh, don't use the rough side of your file, make sure you use the smooth side. The rough side is a bit too draggy on the nail and it feels very uncomfortable for your clients. Just like that. There we go. The next stage is to push back the cuticles. So I'm getting my cuticle pusher and I'm going to push back on the cuticle. So if we do this one here, so I'm going to just push back on the cuticle. Now you do sometimes need to use a little bit of force, but obviously you don't want to be hurting your client, so just push back. It sounds contradictory, but it's gentle, but with a purpose. Now when you're doing the cuticles, the cuticle is actually attached to the nail plate. So you want to make it loose, so you're going to loosen it off just by pushing it back. Then you may see this excess skin, so I kind of pull it forwards, and then I will get my cuticle nippers. And as I said before, these are quite sharp, so you want to be very careful how you use them. So just put the back blade on the dead skin and then bring the front blade up to it and then just clip away. And you can see here, I don't know whether you can see that, but there's quite a lot of loose skin actually coming away from there. And then just use them very, very carefully and just cut away the dead skin. So there, I don't know whether you can see it, but there it is. So I'm just clip that away very carefully and remove it. It's a lot easier on a real person. So there it is there, I don't know whether you can see that, but there it is, the dead skin that I've clipped away. So now that cuticle is nice and clean and right where it should be. What you need to remember about the cuticles is that this skin behind here is live skin. It has nerve endings and it has blood circulating through it. The cuticle, the dead skin, doesn't have any nerve endings and there's no blood. So you must never cut the skin behind because it's going to bleed. Only cut the dead skin. Sometimes there's nothing to do. Now sometimes you get skin growing down onto the nail plate and it comes down here and it may stop about there, and then you'll get your cuticle pusher and you'll go to push and it won't budge. It's solid on the nail plate. There's only one way to remove that, and that is to file it off. You can use your electric file to file it off, or you can use your hand file to file it off as well. Once you file this away, you can usually then push the cuticles back and then clip them off if need be. Once you've done the cuticle work, the next thing to do is to actually prep the surface of the nail. Now this is the bit that people often kind of like skimp on, and it's very important. The actual nail plate itself has skin growing on it, which can be invisible to the naked eye. If I do a bit of scraping on this nail plate here with this flat edge of the cuticle pusher, quite often we can actually get skin coming off the nail plate. And it's trace, here it is, just little bits of trace skin, and if you leave any skin on the nail plate, it will cause lifting. Skin rejects everything, so basically your products are not going to stick to the nail plate. So you must remove all traces of skin, which I said can be invisible to the naked eye. So what we have to do is to actually go over the surface of the nail plate to sort of like remove all the trace skin. Now your nails are porous as well, they're going to absorb grease. You've got grease in your own body coming into your nails, and you can get grease on your nail plates from cooking, from messing with your hair, leaning on your face. Lots of reasons why you may get grease in the nail plate. You've also got liquids in the nail plate, and that's from washing your hands with soap and water, and you will have it embedded in the surface. So we need to remove the skin off the surface, and we need to remove the grease that may be in the nail plate and the water that may be in the nail plate. So we have to go over the surface. Now there's two ways to do it. You can use your file. I hold it like this, and I will go round and round and round like this, and just basically go over the nail plate until it appears kind of all dull and not shiny anymore. So with Tea Customer, we normally just say, I'm just going to remove the surface shine off your nail plate. The other way to do it is with your electric file. And we went through this a little bit earlier, and we just want to switch it on. And then we're just going to go around the back like this, and applying no pressure whatsoever, and then just come down this side here, pulling the skin away, getting right into those edges. And then I've got to go back up the other way, so we've got to go up this way. The head of this nail file is rotating anti-clockwise, so we must always go against the spin of the head. You can't go that way, you can only go this way. Now to do the rest of the nail, what we need to do is to keep it kind of flat on the nail plate, and we want to work with the grain of the nail, which is running down. So basically I'm going to put it at 45 degrees to the nail plate and keep it flat. And I'm going to just rotate the finger slightly and then pull it towards me like this. And as I go round, I will twist the finger and just take off the surface shine. Now, I'm not putting any pressure on this file here. It's just the surface. And take away all traces of shine off the nail plate. So it's a lot easier to do on a real person, of course. Now you just switch this off, and then you will just dust the surface so that you've got a clean surface with no shine left and no skin left on the nail plate. Now basically that is your nail prep. So whether you do it with a hand file or an electric file, you want it to have this chalky kind of look. It's very important to remove all traces of skin from the back and from the sides. But the whole nail plate must be done. Once you've done all your nail plates, what you need to do now is to dehydrate the nail plate and remove the grease. So what I tend to use is a little pad with some acetone, pure acetone, and I will wipe over the nail plate like this. The wiping removes the grease, and as that acetone evaporates away and dries out, it will pull moisture out of the nail. Once you've done that, you must never touch them again with your fingers. If you do, you're going to put grease on there. So what you can do is just wipe it again. You can't wipe it too many times. Okay. Now some people use alcohol, which you can use, of course. Alcohol does the same. So I can just use a pad with alcohol on. And you often get a product called Prep and Wipe. And basically what it is, it's for prepping the nails and for wiping away sticky layers of gel polish if you're using that kind of a top coat. So that evaporates away, alcohol dissolves liquid in the nail and it will just pull it out. The next stage is to apply your primer. Now, if you're putting tips on, don't apply your primer now. You do it after you've put your tips on, shaped them and blended them in, and then where the natural nail is, that's where you apply your primer just before you put your acrylic on. But if you're doing, say, a gel polish on natural nails, or you're doing a natural nail overlay with either acrylic or gel, then you will now apply your primer and it will now cover the whole of the nail. So if we're doing gel polish, we will use a non-acid primer, or if we're using a builder gel as a strengthener, again under your gel polish, we will then apply the primer to the whole nail, and we must use a non-acid primer, not an acid primer. So any primer will do, they're all the same. We've got this one here, which is a primer, and this one I think was off Amazon or eBay, and you just go over the nail like this. Like that, that's all you do. Now if you decide to use a nail prep, which again you don't really need because the acetone or the alcohol will do exactly the same thing, but I'll just mention it because you may see it and think, oh, well, what's that? Well, basically it's just, instead of the acetone, you can, or after the acetone, you can apply a nail prep. And basically it's just an alcohol that's the same as that, which will just evaporate away, and then you'll apply your primer. But I tend to just wipe them with acetone or alcohol and then apply my primer straight on. So that's the one kind of primer. Here we have Fast Bond. As I said, this is a Gelux one, but it's exactly the same as that. It's exactly the same. There's no difference whatsoever. It's just a primer. And that just goes onto the natural nail. You don't need to flood the nail with it. You just apply a thin coat. What primer does, it actually alters the pH balance of the nail so that the products will stick better. Now I noticed that the Fast Bond is more like a sticky coat, whereas this one is more a dry coat. But it's got a little bit of tack to it, but not as much as this Fast Bond. And I really don't think that makes any difference whatsoever. Now, the acid primer. Now that one is after you put your tips on and you're going to do acrylics, you must put the acid primer just on the back section. So when you've got your tip on, wherever the back section is, you'll just put your acid primer in that area. You don't put it over the tip. So that basically is all your nail prep, and whether you're applying tips or whether you're going gel polish straight onto natural nails, that is what you have to do. So that covers it really. That's all your different stuff that you need to get and how you do it. So if you're doing gel polish, all we need to do now is to apply our base coat into the lamp, colour coat into the lamp, maybe another colour coat into the lamp, and then a top coat into the lamp. And if you've not used a no wipe top coat, you will need to remove the sticky residue layer on the last of the top coat. And if you've used a no wipe top coat, it will already be dry. So all you would then do is just put your cuticle oil around the back, and then that would be your gel polish complete. If you're applying tips, you put your tip on, you've shaped it, and you've blended in the line, and you will put your acid primer along the back here, and then you will start to apply your acrylic. And then you just file it into shape, shape it all over, make sure it's perfect, and then you'll apply your gel polish if that's what you're doing. So I hope that covers all that you needed to know about nail prep. And as I said in the introduction, you know, people have different ways of doing it, but that's my way. And I think you'll find that if you do it carefully, methodically, and with attention to detail, your nails should stay on. And you should be getting about 3 weeks out of acrylics. You must do your infills after 3 weeks. And with gel polish, you know, it's sort of like every couple of weeks that they would be coming back to have gel polish soaked off and reapplied. So if you've got any questions, just let me know, and in the boxes below, and I hope that clears it all up for you. So it's John here, signing out from Professional Nail School and Beauty Academy. See you next time. Bye for now.